we're going to get started. Again, if somebody can let me know if you guys can hear me, whether you're on Zoom or you're on YouTube live, that would be wonderful. I would really appreciate that. All right, well, let's get started. Last week, we made our swatches and we did the yellow, the orange, and the reds. Oh, now my phone is going to keep going off. Jody, you're going to need to stop messaging me if you would, please. But the one I forgot was the Ost Red. So we're going to do that one, and then we're going to go in and do the greens. Hopefully we can get all of the other colors done today. We're going to do the greens, the yellow, or excuse me, the blues, the purples, and then finally finish up with the browns and black and white. So we have a lot to cover tonight. So let's get started. Let me put those to the side. Again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to sprinkle and then spray. We'll do a swatch where we bleed the color down, and then we will spray with water and then sprinkle. So let's get started. I have a bucket of water to the side of me. I'm using a just a brush that holds a lot of water. These are just inexpensive brushes. They're really nice though. And I also just use these towels that I can throw in the wash, and I bleach them to get them going, to get them clean. So let's get started. So first what we're going to do is let's sprinkle some of the Ost Red. Again, if you were on last Tuesday, you'll notice how some of the colors come out a little finer, some come out a little more in clumps, and the Ost Red is one of those that comes out with more clumps in it. And we're just going to spray that. Let's set that aside. Let me get rid of my keyboard here so I have more room. Let's set that aside so it can start to dry. It's pretty humid here, so it's going to take quite a while for the colors to dry. The next one up, and we're going to start our green, is lime green. Let's sprinkle, spray, and you'll notice with the lime green, there is a lot of yellows in with the greens, and there's also some oranges in here that are a little harder to see on the camera. So I'm going to kind of go through these pretty quick, as I had said. Next up is our sea green. Let's sprinkle. And let me show you how fine the sea green is. I don't know if you can see how all of the crystals are extremely fine, very, very fine particles. You can see the blues and the greens in this one. Our next up is our leaf green. Let me clear this off. Trying to not get too much cross-contamination. So we're doing leaf green. Also, as anybody that's on the YouTube channel, if you can give us a thumbs up for the Fine Art Cafe Academy and also subscribe, that would be fabulous. So the leaf green is a lot like the lime green, only it doesn't have as much yellow as the lime green, but it has a lot of the same colors, more of the blues in it, which is really, really a pretty color, because you can get with the blue, if you're doing leaves in a tree and you're sprinkling, you can get some depth because of the blue that's also in there. So next is our emerald green. Oops, let's turn it over, and I'm making a mess. Again, this is very fine. I don't know if you can see the orange colors that are in this one. So in this color you have some of the yellows, the blues, and some of the orange in it. Now I really like this next color, and it's the olive green. And I like to go in and make leaves with this because of all of the colors that you'll find in this one. So you're getting away from those brighter greens. Jody, I totally agree with you that the lime green is one of your favorite colors. So let's take a look at how fine these crystals are. You can see there's a lot of color in that pot that creates the olive green. So with olive green, you have the darker greens, the blues, and look at the oranges that are in that color. It's so organic. I love it. Our next one up is our moss green. Let's flip this over. Now, moss green is not one of my favorite colors. And you can see this one comes out. It's a little more of a clump. This one has a lot of purples in it, has some browns. It has a little bit of the orange in it. I don't know, can you see all of those colors in this one? We have a question. Would you use both the olive green and leaf green in the same tree? Well, it depends on the type of tree that you're going to be doing, the look that you want to achieve. You definitely could. If you wanted a lot of that purple in your tree, then you could definitely use some of this moss green. If you wanted more of the orange color, then you could use the olive green. It really goes on to what the look that you're trying to get. So let's start getting into our bluish greens, and let's try our turquoise. Get this cleaned up. This is one of the really pretty colors. You can see how fine, and boy, they just roll around. It's a very hard crystal in this one. They really roll as I'm moving them and picking up this piece of watercolor paper. The paper I'm using is the same paper that I used last week. It's the Stoneedge Aqua paper, and it's their cold press, so there's a little bit of tooth to it. But you can see now, what I can't tell you is that little dot of red, if that's cross-contamination, that there was a piece of the red on here, which it could have happened, or if that was in the pot. You know, there's so many colors that are in these little pots. So now I'm going to start running out of room here. Let me get rid of some stuff. All right. This is another one that I use a lot. Ultramarine. It's a really pretty color. And again, you can see how fine this one is. This is a lot like the last one. If I move this around, these crystals will actually roll. Look how cool that is with the blues and the purples in it. There's just a lot of variation of colors in that one. Prussian Blue is another one of my colors that I love to use. It is a darker color. It's very fine. It doesn't roll as much if I pick up the paper. There's a few pieces that are rolling. But it gives you a lot of depth. There's a lot of dark value in this one, and it also bleeds out lighter. So there's a lot of depth in this this little pot of wonderful Prussian Blue. Let's see. The next one is Ost Blue. And does anybody have an idea what Ost Blue stands for? I looked it up a long time ago, and I can't remember now what it is. I'll have to look it up and put that in the comments. This one is very, very fine. I don't know if you can see how fine those crystals are. And again, this one moves around a lot. In fact, I've got it all over my board now. What doesn't help, it's pretty warm here today. And I have my fan on overhead, and I'm going to be wearing these crystals. But you can see in this one all of the purples that are in there along with that blue color. There's even a spot of like kind of an orangey color over in this area. But look how pretty that is. It's so vibrant. Boy, we're just moving right through today. Okay, Jody says the scientist who discovered the pigment, she thinks, but needs to Google it. Oh, for the Ost Blue, yes. There's something with the scientist that discovered, excuse me, that color. But yeah, we'll have to Google it and check. Let's see. So this is the Cobalt Blue. And where's my Cobalt Blue? Here it is. This one again is very fine. If you can see these crystals, probably can't see them rolling around on the watercolor paper, but they are. And again, it has purple and the blue in it, but even though they have the purples and the blues, look how different they are when they're sprayed, and the difference in the blues. And let's get into our purples now. And I use a lot of purple and the violet. And I go in a lot with these colors, and I do a lot of the shadow. So if I'm doing a portrait, I'll use the blues and the purples to go in and lay in the shadow, the definition in the face, the planes of the face. So in the eye socket where the eye goes in, and you'll see a little bit of a shadow in there, or along the nose, or if one side of the face is in shadow. I'll go in and use blues and purples and put that color down first, and then go in and lay color in on top. Okay, so let's do the violet first. Now this one is a little more of a coarser, and it has clumps a little bit more. Now isn't that a pretty color if you're going in and doing an underpainting and that's part of the shadow? It really pushes that part of the face back, or in a, say you're doing a landscape and you want some depth in trees, using the purples, the violet and the purple, or the blues in there are the same concept as the color green, where we had more of the blue in it. And I'm really running out of space. So this one is the purple. And I can't make up my mind which I like better, the purple or the violet. I think it really kind of depends on what the painting is going to be. Again, I'm only using just a tiny bit, but you can see this has more clumps in it than the other violet had. And again, this is the purple. So you can see it has some of those same colors as this one did, but it has more of the, would you call that magenta, the red in there. So it's so different in how each one of these little pots are made and the coloring that's in them. Now I did a portrait in my Heroes, Frontline Hero series that I did, and I did it where it was a monochromatic painting, and I did it in gray. Now what's really cool is look at the colors that are in this little pot. You have reds in there, along with your grays. There's blues in there. There's yellow in there. And in doing that portrait, those colors all came out. And if you want to see the Frontline Heroes series that I did, it's on the janhackettart.com. And you would just go to the Frontline series, and they're all there, and you can see the portrait. So even though it's monochromatic, it really isn't, because it has all of these amazing colors within that pot. So we're going to do light brown. And I don't use the browns a lot. As you can see, some of the pots aren't as dirty looking. I mix a lot of my own browns and my own blacks instead of using them out of the pot. But if you're going to do a branch, this would be good to use. And this goes back into the question, Jody, of would you use the leaf green and the olive green in the same tree? Would you use the light brown, and we'll show you the dark brown. Look at all of the oranges that are in that color. So what kind of a tree trunk are you looking for? Are you looking for one that has a lot of the different oranges in it? Then you could go with the light brown. Let's see what the dark brown looks like. And let's pull these over. Here's the dark brown. This compared to this one. This has yellows in it and oranges. This one has more orange and the darker brown. And you can see where this is bleeding out into that dark, deep, rich brown color. And Jody's saying the light brown looks like more fall leaf colors. It does. Oh, my dog is going to start barking. I apologize up front. So when I was teaching and I was going to senior centers, to nursing homes, and I was working and with the healthcare industry for seniors, I would go in and I would demonstrate, and they would all paint, do a painting with Brusho. They absolutely loved it. They would all go, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that. And when we were done, they would have an amazing painting. But the very first thing I always did was I had them get the black out of the container. And I have 15 full sets of the Brusho that people can just sit down and do a painting. And I would have them just sprinkle this, because I think of the colors that I absolutely think explains Brusho and how they mix the colors to create a color. I think black represents that the most. So when you sprinkle this on, and then you spray it, and I'm a mess. Hopefully this shows. There's oranges, there's blues, there's purples. Look at the colors in that little pot that make up the blue. To me, black is one of the most amazing colors that they have. I just love black. Now, if I was going to do a painting and I was using watercolors, traditional watercolors or acrylics, I would never pull out the tube of black. When you paint with it, I think it's very flat. I don't think it adds definition to a painting. So what I do to make my own blacks, especially in dog portraits, I will take the colors in my palette that I'm using in the portrait and I create my own form of a black. But with Brusho and the colors that are in it, it's mind-boggling how you get these oranges and these blues that turn into black when you mix them up. It's just outstanding. So this is the next color, and this one comes up in the Brusho Fun group on Facebook all the time. And if you're not a member of the Brusho Fun group, you have to join. We are the most fun, sharing, amazing group of Brusho enthusiasts that there ever are. And we have so much fun in the group. We have challenges all the time. Jody does a Monday challenge. We do a What Is It Wednesday, where you just sprinkle colors on and then you create something from it. We do shows. It's so much fun. But everybody always asks, what is white? What do you do with white? I've used it in several ways. I've used it with their Sprinkle It, which is kind of like their metallic Brushos. They have one called Flash, Iridescent, and several different golds and copper. I've used it with that. I've used it if I want to thicken a color. But a lot of people don't use it a lot, and you can see how clean my little pot is. I don't use it that often either. But I did want to show when you sprinkle it out, and I'm using Stoneedge Aqua cold press black watercolor paper. But when you sprinkle it out, it dissolves, but it's not very thick. So if somebody has a way to really use it, I would love to know too, and we can share and really investigate it. I don't know, it's kind of a fun, odd color. It's not a color, actually. White is not a color, but it's kind of a fun thing to use occasionally. All right, so we're going to let these kind of dry, and let's go back to my red. I can find it again. I've got everything all mixed up. Here it is. And let's do like we did last week, and let's go through, make a mess. Let's sprinkle a little bit on the board. Let's mix it up. Paint with it. Bleed it down, just so we can see how light we can get that. Oh, there goes my dog. I told you she's gonna bark and growl. So I can do that with all of the colors, and it's going to take me a little bit because, like I said, I have them totally mixed up. Let's do the black so I can show you when it's mixed with water, how all of those colors dissolve within itself. But you will get, as you pull it down, some of those colors that bleed through. So it's pretty cool color, even when you dilute it and use it that way. So you know what? While I have this, I'm going to flip this over. And what I want to do is on the bottom side, show you the difference. So black is done. Between when we sprinkle first and spray versus spraying with water and then sprinkling. So again, we talked about this last week, was how do you want to use the colors? Do you want them thicker? Do you want it more of a organic look? So when you go in to do a painting and you're sprinkling, this is something that you really need to stop and think about, is how do I want my painting to look? How do I want, if you're using it for leaves, and I'm just using leaves as an example, how do I want my leaves to look? Do I want them thicker, or do I want them broken up and more just where the spray of the water went and then you sprinkle it in? So one of the other things a lot of times people will say is, how do you get the color where you want it to be? A little trick that someone, and I'm trying to think, Ward, I can't think of his last name. First name is Ward. But he'll take, and I don't want to bend this, but he'll take a piece of paper, bend it, put a crease in it, sprinkle, and then with that bend, he directs the crystals right where he wants them to fall. That's a really cool way that you can give it a try. So this one is violet. Let's dig our violet out. And this is one of the big problems with Brusho, is you never can keep these colors straight. Even if I've written on the top, it's still hard to find these things. I wish, and we should talk to Colorcraft and get them to come up with a plastic case that holds them upright, holds the 34 colors with the push pin in. That would be just big enough that you could line these all up and have them so you could find them. Okay, so this again is the violet, and we have the violet, and I'm diluting it down with just water. And then I'm bleeding it down so you can see how light it gets. And while we're working on this one, let's turn it around. Let's spray it with water first. And we're getting some cross-contamination, that's okay. And then sprinkle it. So again, you can see the difference. This has more mass to it. This is more, let's say, organic, spread out, because it's only hitting where the water is and activating on your watercolor paper where the water is, those little droplets would be. So let's, next up, let's do the purple. And where's my purple? Purple. Here's my purple. Clean the board off. I like these boards. I call them an alligator board. They're plastic. They have the ridges through, and I can bleach this board, clean it off. I used these when I was working with my seniors. I would bring them home. They would be covered with Brusho from the seniors working on them. And I would just hose them down in the sink. If they were really stained, just bleach them. So these are so nice to work on. Let's do our dilute. Wash it down. And then on the end, let's spray with water. You can see cross-contamination. At least it's the purple sprinkle. And now you have your very organic looking texture. Let's do the light brown, so I have space here. And where's my light brown? And I lost my push pin. Oh well. I'm always losing push pins. I think I own stock in the push pins. Again, this is light brown. And you can see it doesn't take a lot to dilute. We talked last week about how these pots, I've had them for 5-6 years. And I bet you they're over half full. Let's spray with water. And sprinkle. And you can really see the colors, and it's washing up into my diluted area, so I'm just gonna dab that. But look how this color bled down into the brown, where that little crystal of yellow bled down in. I don't know if you can you see that? It's pretty cool stuff. All right. Now turquoise. And let me know if I need to turn some lights on if it's getting too dark in here. It's starting to darken up outside. One thing too you want to do is, and I've just been throwing my brush in my bucket of water, you probably don't want to do that. It's not a really good idea to let good brushes, even your inexpensive brushes, to just sit in water and to soak up the water. I've had brushes that they swell and the ferrule that's around is metal, and they'll split that and loosen it up so that they get really loose. So you want to be careful with your brushes. So this side I'm going to spray first. And then sprinkle. So you can see some of them, like this turquoise, they don't mix quite as much when they hit the water. That's why I like to do the swatches. You can see where it's sprinkled into my wet area. But that's why I like to do the swatches, is because I can take this and I can look at it and I can say, do I want more of this look? Or do I want more of the look where it's not as blended together? So, all right, let's do Prussian Blue. Now we're going to let these dry, and next week we will come in with our bleach and water. And I think I still have some Melton, which is from the UK. And we talked a little bit about it last week, but Melton is baby bottle sterilizer. And you can get it in a liquid form over there, or you can get it in the tablets. And I have tablets. So I'm going to mix some of that up when we first start to show you. I just drop it in water. And then we're going to make lines to show what colors you can bleach, what colors you have to worry about real staining. So we're going to do that before we move on and we actually start talking about creating a painting. And then as we go through the series, we're going to, we'll actually end up doing a painting, which is going to be a lot of fun. So Nancy says she loves that purple. Yeah, isn't it? It's just, it's the violet. Here's the purple. Isn't that great? It's just so pretty. And Jody says the new art term, brushochromatic. That's very true. That's a good term, Jody. I like that. So this is the Ultramarine. And let's grab my Ultramarine. Here it is. And I apologize. They're not in any kind of order. You can see how when I first started with that, there was purple, which has the purple in here, but when you mix it, you kind of lose the purple in this one. Oops. So let's turn this around. Put the towel over it a little bit. Spray, and then we're going to sprinkle. And what a difference. Again, I really went overboard, so I just want to mop that up a little bit. But you can see the difference in the technique of how you're using your Brusho colors. And this is Prussian Blue. Cleaning up my mess here. And one fell on the floor, so I'm going to have to grab that one. And it's probably my Prussian Blue. Almost. Oh! Which one? Yes. It was my Prussian Blue. Sorry about that. Oh, we did the line already. That's why it went rolling off. I was doing that already. And let's spray. And sprinkle. Now, depending on how you want it to look is how close you're going to sprinkle also. So you can see how this is just picking up where I sprayed. Okay, I'm like, have colors everywhere. Let's try our dark brown. So who is like me that you have a heck of a time with finding the colors that you want? Is anybody else like me? So has everybody on the Zoom and on YouTube, have you created your color swatches? If you haven't, I really suggest that you do. I think it makes such a difference in your paintings, because you can look and see what you have, how they react, which I know I keep saying that, but it makes such a difference. And then you also can know, do I want to spray heavy or do I want to try and spray more lightly? So this is my gray. Jody says she has. Let's see, Nancy, you're on. Have you, you've done your swatches also? Look at the difference. Now to me, that's so much prettier with the colors than when you dilute it. But it depends on what you're looking for. Let's spray and sprinkle. And I know, Jody, you did, because you took my Creating Magic with Brusho course. And in there we go over and we do the color swatches. But look at the difference here with the spray. Here you can see more of the blues, that orange. Here it all kind of melds together, but it gives you streaks of the color. And this is our leaf green, one of Jody's favorites. And I hope you don't hear that, but my phone keeps going off and buzzing. Normally I let these dry in between, which really makes a difference with the cross-contamination, because you're going to see a lot of cross-contamination on this one. I sprayed a little heavy on here. See if I can get some of this mess up. The other thing is, I said my fan is on, so that's going to cause some of the crystals blowing around. Here is our lime green. I have a friend who got into Brusho about the same time I did. In fact, he is the one who actually showed me Brusho in another group that we were in. And he was using Brusho, and he was using blue, and he was just sprinkling away one evening, and he had his fan on. He tells me when he went to wash his face that night, his face turned blue. Oh, there's my lime green. So you do have to be careful. So you can see when you're doing it with this one, more of the yellows show, but look at all the yellows that are up here that all bled in together. Here, they're more separated, which is very cool. Let me turn this phone off. There. So we're piling these up. Sea green. Let's do our sea green. Isn't that a pretty color? Don't you love when you go live and all the dogs barking, and now the garage door? I don't know if you heard the garage door, but the garage door just went down. But how pretty that would be if you're going to do, say, a boat going through water, and you wanted to have the waves coming up. Look at the variation in colors that you're getting with this. And that almost looks like a wave here. Very cool. So then let's try our, do you remember what this one is? Our moss green. This is probably one of my least favorites of the colors. Now I like it better that way than when you're doing it and you dilute it. There's something about it that I think it loses something when you dilute it with water. I don't know. What's everybody think? Let's spray it. Let's sprinkle. And now you get those blues. There's some green, orange in there. There's some pretty colors in there. Just not a fan of it diluted down. We have 3 more colors, and then I don't think we're going to go the full time tonight. But at least we've gotten through the colors. We have, oh, actually we have the white also, so we'll finish up with the white. Let's do our olive green. And then let's spray it with water. And look at the oranges that come out that way. So again, depending on the look that you want, it really makes a difference. Oh, we have more colors. I lied. We have more colors over here to do. This is the Oast Green. And I know this gets a little bit blah after a while, just doing these and, you know, watching the colors. But if you really back up and you look at the colors that come through, even when you dilute some of these, how that purple came through in there. I think it's kind of interesting in how they all, different ones work. Here's my Oast Green. You can see how fine that comes out. That is just so, so fine when you sprinkle it out. Big difference in how some of them sprinkle. So I was telling you about my friend, and I don't know if I finished. Did I tell you that I call him Papa Smurf now all the time? Because when he washed his face turned blue. This is the Cobalt Blue. Look how dark and rich that is. And look at the purple that's coming through on that. Jody, what color? Jody's saying that the one is good for mushrooms and grasses. Which color are you talking about is good for the mushrooms and grasses? For those of you who can't see her, what she's typing. Look at that. Now when these are all dry and when we have everything completed with the bleach and everything, what I will do then is put them on a ring. And I do them so that they're kind of laid out very similar to the color wheel. And this is emerald green. And that way I can go through and I can even put ones together, the colors together, as to what's going to look good in a painting. The one you said looked the least like, I think it was moss green. Moss green, yeah, it's that really kind of, this one, which has purples in it, and yeah, that's the moss green. And that would be good for some mushrooms. And as I promised you, we're getting close to the end here. And that's the emerald green. You can see the oranges and the yellows in it. All right, we are down to our red if I can find it. Sea green, violet, here it is. And let's just spray it. You can see the cross-contamination. You can see how different that looks. This one reminds me a lot of the alizarin crimson. Has more of the pinks in it, which this is the alizarin crimson. And they're different. This is more of an orangey look, but they do look a little bit alike in some ways. Now you can see how these have bent because they're so wet and it's so humid here. But sitting over the week to dry, they really have flattened out. That's what I really like about the Stoneedge Aqua watercolor paper. I can get it to lay pretty flat after working with it very wet. All right, our last one for this evening is our white. Again, this is the Stoneedge Aqua 140-pound cold press black paper. It's a very soft paper. I would never tape this down with Scotch tape or masking tape or painter's tape. When you take it off, even if you pull it off at an angle, it picks up some of the fibers. And that's the other thing about the Stoneedge Aqua white, is you have to be very, very careful because it is a softer paper. They don't use all the sizing that some of the other papers do. And you have to really pull your tape at an angle so that you don't lift any of the fibers off of the white. So let's find our white finish up for the evening. Here's our white. And I want to thank you all for hanging in there with me. And my pot of water is really dirty, so I don't want to mix this with the white because it's going to come through with those colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray, try and clean my brush out some, get it as clean as I can. Just spray some water down, mix it up, and I think I need more white. It takes quite a bit of the white to make it thick, and you can see the powder flying. So you could thicken a color, maybe make it a little more opaque. And let's just pull it down, and then let's spray it first and sprinkle the white on just to see the difference that it makes. So when you spray it with water first and then sprinkle it on, it doesn't dissolve quite as much. You can see it kind of floats on top. It's really kind of a different product than the regular Brusho. So thank you so much for following along with me, and I know this can be kind of monotonous making swatches, but I truly believe down deep in my heart that it's really worth doing. And I would love to see your swatches. post them over in the Brusho Fun group on Facebook. If you're not a member, ask to join. We'll get you in. Make sure you answer the questions. Also, go over to the Academy. Check out the Fine Art Cafe Academy. There's demos up there. There's courses up there. Lisa has a course right now for florals and inks, and she's giving a $30 discount on that. The code for your $30 discount is Florals for All. Nina has a course up there from the Brusho Fun group on the variety of ways to use Brusho, and she's offering a discount, so check that out. I also have an ebook that I wrote, and if you sign up for the mailing list and our weekly tips, tricks, and motivation newsletter, you can download my ebook for free. So it's been so much fun. I hope I see you next week. Be sure to stop back. We're going to play with bleach and Melton. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here, and have a wonderful, amazing rest of your week. Bye, everybody. Thank you.